Hey guys, welcome back to the Apocalypse Homestead. I believe today is Sunday the 15th of September, and it's really hot and I'm really exhausted, but I wanted to get out here and do a quick video for you guys, because being the 15th, if I wait till next weekend, it's gonna be like the 21st or 22nd, real late in September. So I'll do my September update now, and even though I'm in the middle of doing a bunch of stuff that I kind of wanted to get done before I did the update, but it'll just wait until October, I guess. It has been a really miserable summer weather-wise out here. The rain has been out of hand, and I posted something that it was funny, but it's frustrating. I said me last week. At last, summer seems to be finally dying, and then summer said, what'd you say, bitch? Because we're in the 90s for the next 10 days. We have like 3 or 4 days in a row of 95 degrees. This is mid to late September. So I'm absolutely exhausted, and I got a decent amount of work done today, but because 6 to 8 weeks prior to last week when the rain finally stopped, was just a wash literally with the rain. I'm so far behind. And then I kind of just threw more onto my plate than I had planned, because of the way the state of the world is going right now, which I want to talk to you guys about. But so on that note, we'll start here in the little orchard section I have here. So I can't walk in here now because I threw down some white Dutch clover seeds and I just watered them in. But let me just turn this around. And so at the start of this week, I only had 3 trees planted in here. I had my Meyer lemon tree right there. Over there in the corner is my peach tree, and then I had a fig tree here. And one of my local nurseries, by the way, this is my avocado tree. This is where it's going to be planted when it's planted. But as you can see, hopefully you can see that. I can't see what you're seeing right now because I'm using a phone and I don't see what you're seeing, but you can see that the trunk and the branches are very green, and that means that they are really, really sensitive to cold. So anything less than probably 30 degrees is going to kill this tree. So I can't put it into the ground just yet until it develops its true bark, where it develops that brown crust around it, the real bark. That'll make it cold tolerant down into the mid-teens. But until that, I got to keep it protected. So I got it in this planter here, and when it gets cold, I'm gonna have to move it inside. So, but my local nursery just got a bunch of fruit trees in, namely blueberries and figs. I think they also got blackberries in, but I didn't get blackberries. But I did get 2 blueberries and another fig tree, giving me 2 each. So I have 2 blueberry bushes out in my garden in the back there. I might have shown that to you in the past, but they are doing really, really poorly, just barely alive, and they haven't grown at all since I planted them over a year ago. So something over there is not something that they're happy with. They're still alive. One of them actually produced like a handful of berries this year, but they're not doing very well. And so I just bought some brand new ones. They're really healthy looking, real beautiful, and I put them in the ground today. So here in the orchard, I've got a Meyer lemon tree, 2 blueberries, 2 figs. I think that's a Chicago Hardy fig is the original one I bought. And man, that was just a few inches tall when I bought it. So it's really happy. It's got it's on its second crop, I guess, of figs this year. I harvested a few back in the spring or maybe early summer, and now it's got like a dozen more figs on it. So that's pretty cool. And I forget what kind of blueberry bushes those are, so 2 blueberries in it, and then I've got the La Feliciana peach, and this is a fantastic avocado. I don't remember in my August update I had these are Bristol black raspberry bushes. I've got 3 of them along this cattle panel. And then I just bought 2 boysenberry plants from Baker Creek, which are going to go in the space in between the 3 here. and I think I might have killed one of them. Unfortunately, I upplanted them during the week just until I could get it in a proper something just ran away from me there, into a proper planter. I just upplanted them into a slightly larger planter than they came in, and they just dried out really bad because we didn't get any rain and it was hot. So I gave them both water, and one of them came back to life, and the other one is looking brown and crusty, so I think that one might have died, unfortunately. But I guess one boysenberry is better than none. I'm here in the garden now. If you follow me on social media, I made the hilarious comment that I was going to get caught up with my fall garden this weekend. Not even close, guys. I still have a lot to plant. A lot of just these beds are so new and so they're chunky. You know, when I run the broad fork for them, I bring up these big giant clumps of clay, and it's got to be either thrown out completely or broken up, and it's a really tough ordeal getting just even you know, one bed ready. It's exhausting, but we'll start here in the front. This is one of my you can't kind of see it, but this is one of my perennial beds in the back over there with the flowers. That is the sunchokes, looking beautiful. Unfortunately, they're so, like, I had sunchokes at my old property and they never grew like this. This is incredible. But they've kind of flopped over into my bed of peas here, so I got to get like some jute string or something and kind of just wrap them up and pull them back straight, because they're gonna blot out the green peas I got growing here to feed my chickens. And this is ginger. I'm really happy with this. It was just some random friend of ours gave us a box of organic ginger root that had started to shoot, and I planted them, and they look absolutely beautiful. I hope that they're making tubers as beautiful as the plants are. Over here in this bed here, I transplanted some collard greens. They're looking okay. I got to get them some water, and I've got to take a stirrup hoe to that soil because it's so heavy in clay that once it gets wet, and it got wet constantly, just a constant application of water into that clay, it finally dried up and turned into just basically concrete. So I'm going to take the stirrup hoe to that and break the soil up, and you can kind of see that here. This bed of Brussels sprouts was exactly the same way. It was just they weren't doing very well, and it was all weeded and everything, and I almost had a nervous breakdown and just completely gave up. So but I did stirrup hoe this up and pull a lot of the weeds out. I can still see I got some chamber bitter in here. This awful plant. And then I planted some seeds where the original transplants didn't make it. This bed right here is my provider green beans. They look like absolute terrible, but they do have some green beans on it that I'm going to cut, and then hopefully getting some water to them, because it didn't rain. It stopped raining for like 2 weeks, and I finally ran the sprinkler today, so hopefully those are doing better. But like I said, I thought I would be up to speed on the fall garden this year. I still got to get this sorghum out of the way and plant something there. I got to get these purple hull peas picked up in this bed here and plant that. So that's and then these purple hull here, that's like two beds between those. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces that I got to clear. To my this week, I guess I got these 2 spaces here cleared and planted. There's broccoli rabe, there's kale, and lots of cabbage, some komatsuna, and some bok choy, some purple bok choy. But I still have to get these 2 beds cleared over here. This bed here, I'm probably going to do some more winter greens. Not in terribly bad shape. I got a lot of weeds I got to clear out of there, and we'll see how the soil is when I stick the broad fork in it. But these 2 beds over here, which would be 1, 2, 3, beds 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, when I stuck the broad fork in, I was just pulling up big giant clumps of it, and it was so frustrating. But it took me several hours on Saturday and today to. Saturday bed number 5 was done, and then today I got bed number 4 done. And it just, my wife took a picture of me like squatting down and posted on Facebook, and it was just a picture of me squatting down and picking up giant clumps of dirt and breaking them up with my bare hands. There's just hundreds of them in each bed, so real frustrating. But this bed here, I'm probably going to clear out and plant more of those peas. And this is my original bed of sorghum. These T-posts have to come out, and the sorghum has to come up. I'm leaving it there for now because it's kind of a cover crop, keeping the weeds from popping up in the meantime. But in November, I'm going to plant my garlic. I'm going to plant this whole bed full of garlic. So, and hopefully I'll do better with garlic this year than I did last year. For some reason, I planted like 2 pounds of garlic, and they grew and they looked beautiful until I pulled them up, and they didn't bulb out. It was just like a green onion. So it was pretty disappointing. I made some garlic powder out of it, but not as much as I expected to. So over here in the back here, the wood chips that I originally put down have really started to break down, and I'm starting to get some heavy weed growth back here. So I'm starting to take grass clippings and lay them down here. Not nearly as aesthetically pleasing as wood chips, but when the grass clippings get wet, they kind of congeal together and form like a mat or a carpet, which makes them a lot more resistant to weeds kind of breaking through. So that's why I like them over the wood chips. Not to mention, you used to be able to get wood chips, you know, back when you saw the Back to Eden gardening movie. They were like, yeah, wood chips are easy to get because the arborists have to pay to get rid of their wood chips. So if you come to them saying, give me your wood chips, they're happy to give them to you. But that secret caught on so much that the arborists probably realized that there's a financial opportunity here. And so now I think I signed on to a wood chip, it was like a website that would connect you with arborists who would drop chips off to you, and they said, do you want to make a donation to the wood chips, to the arborist? I'm like, no, why would I? I'm helping him get rid of his trash. And I didn't hear a single thing from anybody. I never got a single truckload of wood chips. So I have a feeling that people are now paying the arborist to drop wood chips off to them, and they're ignoring me because I didn't give them money, which is fine. It's you know, if they have an opportunity to make money, I say go for it. So these are my pineapple guava, by the way. Just felt the raindrop. I have not gotten any pineapple guava from these in either of my properties. These are brand new ones, but the ones that I had planted, they were several years old and had never grown either. But we'll see what happens. I'm gonna keep mulching over top of these, and I might throw them some rabbit manure to get them motivated to fruit, hopefully. These are my moringa trees. I now have 3 of these alive. I just planted this one this year, and it's doing pretty well. I planted 2 of them. Oh, there's the other one. It's still alive. It's just not growing very well. I don't know what it is about the ground back here, but everything except weeds. You know, the weeds love it. The chamber bitter, of course, love it. Here's my pathetic looking blueberry bushes. You can see they're about 8 inches off the ground, and they're kind of brown looking. That's one. There's another one over there that really looks sickly. And there's really no reason for them that I can tell that they would be sickly, other than the soil is poor. I mean, they're mulched. It's real low down here, so I know they're getting plenty of water. And not to mention, you know, unless it's getting too much water due to all the rain and it being so low down here. This is supposed to be my herb garden. My blue spice basil has been fantastic, although I've never ever harvested it and eaten it. Pretty pathetic. I've got some comfrey here. This yellowish looking plant is turmeric. Some of this I planted, the stuff that I planted, you know, just the root looks fabulous. I bought these at a local grocery store who was selling them for $2 a plant, so I bought 4 of them and planted those because I didn't realize that the roots that I planted were actually going to start growing, because it took them a while to get going. But the ones that I transplanted from the store are looking a little bit struggly. Struggly is not really a word, but it looks like they're struggling a little bit. But actually they're starting to make new shoots of greener looking leaves, so that's good. My asparagus is not looking too terribly healthy right now. Very, very abundant. Freaking chamber bitter, man. Like if you look down, like each one of these crowns has several shoots coming out of it. So if it does this well next year, I'll be able to get a decent amount of asparagus. I didn't harvest this at all this year because I'm letting those crowns underneath the soil get real strong, so that next year I can harvest it, and it won't harm the overall plant too badly. So like the second year you might harvest it for a week, and then the third year you might harvest it for 2 weeks, and then after that you could harvest it basically through the summer, and then give it a few months to fern out like this and build up its strength to overwinter. So I'm real happy about that, because I wasn't sure how my asparagus was going to do, because just one bed over here, this is where I had my artichoke planted, and they did not do well at all, so I just threw a tarp over the whole bed. And hopefully next week I'm going to dump every available bucket of compost I have into this bed, broad fork it real nice, and then plant some wheat and some oats that I could feed to my chickens. And how much I pulled this grass out, never goes away. Pull it out by the root, it just comes right back. But this will probably not be nearly enough to feed them, and it just goes to show it's a lesson learned here that I'm going to have to apply next year, and hopefully things will not be too crazy next year. But in terms of growing my own chicken feed, I'm going to need to put aside an extra part, a different part of my garden, different part of my yard, I mean, to plant those things, because there just isn't enough room in here to do that. You know, I grew a decent amount of purple hull and black-eyed peas, but it wasn't enough, and they're so dominant and invasive that they crawl over into the next bed, and they tear down corn stalks and sunflower stalks, and they're just really destructive. So I'll walk over here and show you the easement that we cleared for my to run my power out here, and this is pretty much probably where I'm going to borrow a tiller and just till some rows up. You can see this easement over here, and it basically runs east to west, so it gets a good amount of sun. We're approaching sundown right now, so the sun will be in this easement at least this time of year, and most of the year probably that I'll be growing for most of the day, so it gets a good amount of sun. So we are, like I said, it's September 15th. I just watched the Jeff Berwick video today, Dollar Vigilante. He's on Bitchute. He's not allowed on YouTube because they're awful. But he mentioned a 7-year cycle of the Jewish year, and I'm not talking anything about Jews or anti-Semitism here, guys. This is just an anomaly of history, kind of, especially recent history, and I don't know anything about it. I'm just hearing about it, so take it with a grain of salt. But every 7 years, when the Shemitah comes to, during the Shemitah, which is the end of the Jewish New Year, something terrible happens. So 21 years ago, which was 3 cycles ago, the stock market opened up in the wake of the 9/11 attacks and crashed like terribly. I think I remember the stock market being like 6,000 it was like 6,000. Like that. Can you imagine? Like the stock market's like 33,000 right now. The stock market in the wake of 9/11 was like 6,000. You could buy the entire stock market for $6,000. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't hold me to that. I could be wrong. But it was really, really bad after 9/11, obviously. And then 7 years after that, you had, you know, on the Shemitah, to the day, Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers collapsed. And you know what a show that was. So this year, the Shemitah, this is the 7-year cycle now, or 7 years later, and it ends on the 26th of September, so less than 2 weeks away. There was he showed a video of a German politician ominously claiming that on the 24th of September, the world is going to change forever, or something like that, something to that effect. So it makes you wonder if it's a September 11th type situation where, you know, an event is going to happen which is going to cause the markets to crash. But the markets are crashing anyway. I actually had a person unfriend me today because he was sick of people claiming that the economy was going to collapse and it never happening. And I'm like, what rock are you living under? The economy has collapsed. The economy is collapsing. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. There's some really, I mean, I get it. You know, you so desperately just want things to be normal again, and you know somebody made the analogy of the avalanche, you know what I mean? Like the avalanche happens before the avalanche happens. You know what I mean? The snow accumulates, the ice accumulates to a point where it can't hold itself anymore, and then you know, it climaxes with a catastrophic snowfall running down the mountain. You know what I mean? But the actual avalanche was set into motion, you know, long before that, long before you actually saw the avalanche. And so, you know, like all the indicators, I pay attention, you know, Zero Hedge and a lot of these radical economists who have been right about these things in the past are saying that, and even like, you know, just mainstream people are saying that, you know, after the election, things are going to get bad. Things are going to get bad in Europe because they're reliant on Russian energy, and Russia just cut off their natural gas, and now they're going to have to dip into the global market, and that's going to cause shortages and price increases for the rest of us. And of course, the farmers have not been able to grow food for various reasons, and their inputs have been much more expensive with fertilizer and you know, say what you want about pesticides and herbicides and everything, but all of that has gone up, you know, exponentially, you know. So everything that you're buying at the store now is last week's harvest, not last week, sorry, last year's harvest, and next year's harvest is going to be a catastrophe. I mean, they're telling you, they're screaming at the top of their lungs, guys, we're not growing anything. You know, California's not growing rice. You know, the wheat and the corn crops are just absolutely, like, entire crops have been lost. Entire just 1,000-acre farms are producing nothing, and they're saying, guys, we're not growing any food. And the truck drivers are saying, guys, we're not moving any food. And the warehouse people are saying, guys, everything's getting kind of empty around here. And I've been begging people take this seriously. And they're not, and everybody just wants to go back to normal, and I get it. And things are kind of semi-normal right now, and you know, like there's a cycle to it. It's like a downward spiral, but the gas prices have gone way down. I'm paying like $2.85 for a gallon right now, which is comparable to I don't know what the gas prices were back in 2021, or you know, when Biden took office. And Biden is certainly not to blame for this. If you think Biden's to blame for this, you're just not paying attention. I mean, he's played his part for sure, but I mean, this was the agenda all along. So, but things are starting to kind of, you know, like the Overton window has been moved, but you know, like there's people driving on the roads, and you know, and there's food on the shelves right now, and everything just seems to be okay. You know, everybody's like, but you know, all the people in the background are screaming, guys, this is not going to last long. And so whether this Shemitah comes to pass or not, you all need to be preparing, because, you know, everyone's, and the only reason gas prices are coming down is they do this every year. I mean, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I feel like I'm the only one that notices this, but every time there's a run up to an election, the gas prices plummet. You know what I mean? Like, here we are again coming up to a new election. Gas prices are plummeting day after day. I mean, gas prices never go down day over day. You know, they'll go up 15 cents in a day, and then it'll take, you know, 2 months for it to go back down to what it was. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it works. But day after day, like, it's going down. You know, every time I drive by a gas station, the price has gone down. That's crazy. That's insane. That never happens. And that's because there's an election coming up. So when the election's over with, you can expect all hell to break loose, like they always do. So, but it's really going to be bad right now, guys. And if you're really paying attention, so if you don't have this right now, and you probably don't, maybe you don't, you can still go to the store and buy bulk. You can still buy rice and beans. Relatively cheap every time, you know, and I feel like taking a picture of it every time I walk by it. Every time I walk by the rice and bean aisle, there's plenty of rice and beans on the shelf, and it's relatively cheap, and it's not the most optimal diet. I don't personally eat rice and beans. I've got like 100 pounds of beans and like 50 pounds of rice in my storage that I have no intention of ever eating, hopefully, but if it's there if I need it. You know what I mean? It's not optimal. I'm a keto, paleo meathead. I don't eat beans, I don't eat rice, I don't eat carbs, but I will if I have to. If it comes down to, like, you know, starving or eating beans, I'm gonna eat beans, obviously. So, but I have that. You need to have that at least, and you know what I mean. Like, you know, 1 or 2 years worth of that food will give you a buffer to figure out what the fuck to do when everything, you know, goes nuclear, which is about to do. I have a feeling. So you may not have this now. I do. And you might not have your rabbits, and you might not have your chickens. By the way, those chickens that I hatched, I showed you in previous videos, 2 of them were roosters. So I'm probably going to, I was going to do it this week, but I'm probably going to send them on their way next week. I'm just too tired right now. But anyway, so, you know, you might not have what I have right now, but, you know, if you at least get the storable food, and get that in your inventory, you'll be able to, you won't be blown away by things when they finally go crazy. And you can say, okay, I don't have a renewable source of food, but I have enough food to start getting this figured out. You know, so if maybe you have friends and family that can help you start making a garden, and hopefully, I mean, the demand's going to be crazy, so you might not be able to find rabbits or chickens. If you remember the early days of the pandemic, nobody can get chickens because everybody wanted chickens. Nobody can get seeds because everybody was growing a garden. And it's funny how that is. Everybody forgot about all that kind of stuff, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully you didn't. Hopefully you stayed with it, because this is a prolonged crisis, and it might, you know, I would say at the very least it's going to be prolonged. But if I'm telling you what I feel in my gut, the crisis is permanent. It's not really a gut feeling. This is what they tell us. I mean, this is a great reset. They're nuking society so they can rebuild it in their image, and their image of society involves far fewer people, and far more centralization of where people are allowed to live. So, and how are they going to get far fewer people? Like, they're not just going to kill you outright. They'll starve you. You know, there's going to be an engineered famine, and engineered energy crises, and eventually everybody will just die off. And everybody thinks that they can resist that, and they can stand up to that. And you know, like, I don't even listen to Alex Jones anymore, because all he talks about is all we got to do is expose these people and it's over. And I'm like, it's already been done. You can expose them all they want. They've already blown it up. You know, it's like the guys talking about society, about the economy, waiting for the economy to crash. I mean, the only reason the nuclear bomb has already gone off, the only reason you haven't been blown away from it by it is the blast wave hasn't hit you yet. But it has gone off, and it cannot be put back in the bomb. So, you know, there's nothing to resist. There's nothing to wake up to and stand up to and say no to. Like, your time to say no and resist was 2020, and if the shoe fits, statistically speaking, you didn't. You might have, but the majority of people bent the knee, and many thousands, hundreds of thousands of businesses went under forever because they shut down, and they just complained about it on social media. And the crazy people like me warned you, say no to this now, or it'll be darkness. Humanity will be in darkness for 1,000 years. So anyway, that's my little pep talk for you guys. Get out there and buy storable food, and you might want to go buy some seeds now while you still can, because there's going to be another run on seeds. And get your houses in order and get right with God. That's the most important thing, because even me, for all that I've got done here, I might not make it either. All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you next month.